Welcome back to the Nomiki Show. What a day for democracy. What a day to mock democracy is what I'd like to say, because there's a lot of mocking happening from a couple of senators and Congress members who just don't seem to care about human beings dying, human beings having a path forward, or just human beings even in their district. Laura Packard, great opening there. Laura Packard is the executive director of Healthcare Voter. She's a healthcare advocate, and she's also an award-winning progressive digital new media and communication strategist based in Denver. And of course, in Healthcare Voice, was founded in 2008 to organize adults with serious medical conditions to tell their stories. And the C4 is, of course, Voices of Healthcare Action. This is really important, of course, in moments like this when we are trying to get certain senators and Congress members to listen to human beings and hear their stories, because once you hear people's stories, it's really hard to run away from them. But I guess you could just go run to your yacht. Laura Packard, thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A unique opening for today. I'm just feeling a little defeated by humankind, I guess. I'm sure you're feeling the same way.
Well, I mean, those of us that worked so hard to help get Senator Sinema in particular elected, and now she's turning her back on Arizonans and Americans in general.
You know, it's almost like they need to have these like lie detector tests before someone runs for office, before you join their campaign or send them, thousands of dollars and, thinking that they're going to be, I don't know, protecting the little guy, but of course, no. I want to play this clip really quick because it's definitely going viral, and it is of Senator Manchin being protested by folks, who are upset at him, West Virginians who are upset at him for, not standing for them. Let's play this clip.
Let me talk if you can. Where are y'all from? Anybody from West Virginia?
Yes.
West Virginians?
We have a lot of West Virginians.
God bless you all. But gang, we're working hard. We really are. We're going to continue to, in good faith. We want to get a good bill that's a balanced bill, that's well done. And I know it won't be enough for some, and it'll be too much for others. In West Virginia, West Virginia's a little bit different than it used to be.
There's a lot of poverty. What are you going to do for the poor in West Virginia?
We're going to be working everything we can to create good opportunities.
And we need to tax the rich.
Oh, I agree with that. I definitely agree. That's the one number thing we should be doing, is fixing the tax code so everybody pays their fair share. We should be also negotiating for lower drug prices. We should be doing all these things.
They need that. Hold pharma accountable.
I agree with you 1,000%. We're on the same page, gang. We really are.
If we can expand Medicare, adding dental, vision, and hearing coverage to Medicare, that's a real opportunity that we can do.
Well, if we have, here, let me just explain on that one. We will get to that eventually, but right now we can't even take care of it. It's going to go broke in 2026. Let us fix and repair that
first. That's not true. Tax the rich.
We're taxing the rich. I agree. We're going to make the rich and the famous pay.
Well, how much is it? They can cover this, or you can cover 8,000%, not 26. So when you think about it, we just passed a Pentagon budget of $788 billion. No, and that over 10 years is $6 trillion, right? $6 trillion. And we're talking about
how much do you think that we spend every year on non-discretionary, basically non-defense?
Not
just
enough.
As much.
Clearly not enough.
Do you know we pay? Let me just give you all this.
But I'm just saying we can afford. If we can afford
let me just tell you. Let me give you one little bit of information.
Wait, I got one little bit of information for you. The Republicans are likely to take over the Senate. We don't. This is our one chance right now to pass the legislation.
If we don't do it right, do you think they won't be filled as soon as they take over?
If you don't pass this, we're gonna.
Yeah, they're not going to pass things like this for the people. They're not. This is our chance. We can't wait.
So of course that was a long video there, but it was every second watching Joe Manchin slick talk, and he's good, man. He's good.
Well, thank you to the West Virginians and their kayaking skills, because right now it's hard to get a hold of these senators. Senator Sinema just had a private meeting with a whole bunch of big business lobbyists, but they're not listening to the people. So God bless the West Virginians and their kayaking skills.
The kayaktivists is what I like I love that they're called that. I mean, this is really just such an iconic moment. I mean, we thought that Nancy Pelosi in front of the two $12,000 fridges talking about ice cream was a moment during the pandemic, or the wine cellar fundraisers. But he's literally on a yacht. He's literally on a yacht saying, "Yeah, tax the rich and the famous." Oh, if only there was something you could do about it. But again, he seems to be more concerned, the rhetoric that he is telling reporters, that he's telling Beltway insiders, and of course his fellow senators, is, we don't have enough money. But it doesn't seem to stick with human beings. When the Chi activists talk about, what are you going to do about the poor? Yeah, West Virginia is a lot different than it used to be. It's poorer than it used to be on your watch, whether you're governor or state senator at the time, or now, of course, U.S. senator. But then the prescription drug prices. I mean, this is something that you work on specifically. I'm very curious how that rhetoric lands with you, somebody who has like fought hard.
Well, it isn't so much, to be fair, it isn't so much Manchin that's been the difficulty there, but Senator Sinema, some of the other senators in big pharma states, and over in the House, 3 Democrats, Scott Peters of California, Kurt Schrader of Oregon, and Kathleen Rice of New York voted down the opportunity to lower drug prices in the reconciliation bill. So it's still there. Because a different committee voted on it.
Yeah.
But that's a problem, that these Democrats are getting bought off by big pharma and they're not listening to their constituents, because this is one of the most popular things in the country.
Yeah.
Across party labels,
Yep.
everybody recognizes we pay more than any other country for our drugs, and we have to do something about it.
It's interesting because, it used to be that, okay, the excuse was, well, pharma's in my district, this is my industry. But someone like Cory Booker, Jersey's, it's pharma heavy. He's decided, I'm not doing this anymore. And he's shockingly survived. It's like, wow, they haven't gone after him yet. But someone like Kathleen Rice, I mean, she's from New York State, Long Island. Like, there's no, I didn't know that pharma was big in her district. It's not. Just teaser everybody.
And they haven't given her so much money. But what's also interesting is all of these politicians ran on lowering drug prices.
Yeah.
It's in all their campaign commercials. They were talking a good game when it didn't matter. And now when they have the opportunity to do something about it, they're listening to the chamber and they're listening to big pharma over the people. So we just have to be louder.
What I don't understand is, what is the Chamber of Commerce? Like, why are they concerned about this?
Well, you would think that the chamber would recognize that doing things to lower healthcare costs helps all of their businesses. But when pharma launders big sums of money through the chamber, like they did to fight healthcare reform, the pharma lobbyists cut big checks to the chamber, and then the chamber does what they say. So the chamber supposedly speaks for American businesses, but they speak for who writes the check.
That's fascinating. So they're essentially building a coalition of lobbyists through different industries to fight for their interests, even if they're not necessarily, like overlapping with the same interests, at least on the ground. Fascinating.
And they also want to kill the bill because the bill would increase taxes on corporations as well as the wealthy, and they don't like that.
I thought Chamber of Commerce was for small businesses, not corporations.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. Okay, so right now, where we stand, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think? What's happening from the folks who are fighting for better healthcare, for universal healthcare? Like, what are activists doing to pressure those who are standing in the way?
Well, so far, the BIF, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, has not made it through the House because progressives stood together and said, we won't vote for this until the human infrastructure bill, the reconciliation bill, is moving as well. And so far, they've stuck to their guns. So we're at a bit of an impasse, but it looks like it's finally forcing at least Senator Manchin to say what he wants, to come to the bargaining table. I don't know that Sinema has, she hasn't been public with what she wants. Maybe she's privately telling Schumer and Pelosi and other folks, but at least publicly, she's she's being opaque, so nobody knows what she wants. But at least Manchin is starting to say what he wants, which is what we need to come to a deal.
But what does he want from that deal? I mean, it's great to say like we need to come to a deal, but uh, so 96% of Democrats need to negotiate with you, terrorist, because that's what he's doing.
I mean, that's the problem with the 50-50 Senate, and that's why next year we need to do better in a lot of these states. I mean, unfortunately, there were some places that we didn't win last time. Unfortunately, Susan Collins is still a senator. Uh, Maine, come on. And the candidate in North Carolina just lost by a little bit, but he had some personal issues that we need to stop running the same stale candidates and run people that inspire, and then we can win some of these seats. Because look at what happened in Georgia. Nobody thought we were going to win 2 seats, but Senators Ossoff and Warnock were a breath of fresh air, and we need more people like that running instead of people that just answer to their corporate bidders.
So in terms of Manchin's mindset right now, what has he been public about okay, so he wants a deal. Reporters are finally, calling out the fact that he is taking money from different interests that, shocker, do not want the progressive track to go forward. But what is he saying? Like, what are his excuses?
Well, what came out the other day, I think, was that he wanted 1 trillion, and so I mean that's not enough. 3.5 is not enough, but it's already been bargained down from the 6 trillion that progressives wanted in the first place. But at least there's a number out there, so that's progress. But again, what does Sinema want? Who knows? And without her vote, this won't move forward because the Republicans, 50 of them in the Senate, have totally checked out, are not even bothering to answer the needs of the American people.
In terms of Pelosi, Schumer, and Biden, are you hearing anything on their end about how they're pressuring Sinema and Manchin and their growing frustrations? And obviously the mod squad too.
Well, a lot of this stuff happens behind the scenes, and you see just what comes out in the newspapers and what people are willing to talk about. But I assume that not only are Schumer and Pelosi pressuring them, but I've got to assume that other senators are too, because if Manchin and Sinema and some corporate Democrats in the House manage to kill this bill, they're turning over the House and the Senate to Republicans next year. There will be nothing to run on. And understandably, why would Americans vote for more of the same when this is what they get? So this is a chance to do something and save their own hides.
Right. And their colleagues. I mean, their colleagues must be extremely furious. Like, not only are you being a pain in the ass, holding up legislation that society needs that could change the path or lessen the destruction that we're already facing right now, whether it comes to climate change or healthcare debt. I mean, it's not going to eliminate the debt for health, but of course, it'll help us get closer to a more just society. So they're holding that up, but then at the same time, they're putting everybody else at risk who's in a swing district, not in a swing district. Who knows at this point, because the tides are shifting so quickly. For Republicans to put ads on saying like they don't care about, Democrats did nothing during the pandemic. The economy collapsed. They promised all this, and look at, they did nothing. Thank you so much, Sinema and Manchin. And they're not really unsafe. I mean, I'm personally the belief that I don't think that Manchin is safe as everybody thinks he is. He has great name ID, but Sinema clearly isn't.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if I were Sinema, I'd be worried about how she's going to win a Democratic primary in Arizona at this rate, because she's way more popular with Republicans than Democrats. So, I mean, that's something to think about. But I care about healthcare in this bill because I'm a cancer survivor, and I wouldn't be here without the health insurance, the Affordable Care Act that saved my life. But not only healthcare, but all the issues we care about and the planet we live on. If any of these elected officials want their children and grandchildren to live on a habitable planet, they need to act.
Right. In terms of what is in this bill, can you just remind folks what is at stake here?
Well, in the on the healthcare front, and again, this could be changing because again, they're negotiating, but it includes lowering the cost of prescription drugs, strengthening Medicare to include vision and dental and hearing coverage, filling the Medicaid gaps so that low-income people in states like Florida and Texas and Georgia and North Carolina can finally get health care. Home and community-based services so that people with disabilities and seniors can stay at home rather than being forced into an institution for their care. Expanding the Affordable Care Act tax credits in the American Rescue Plan to make health insurance more affordable, paid family and medical leave, and a whole lot more.
Sounds like something a modern democratic society should have at this point, especially with more millionaires and billionaires than anywhere else on the planet. Just seems pretty fair. Laura Packard, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us a brief rundown of what's happening in Washington and the consequences and what's at stake. We're going to be tracking this. This is the show today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.